Ashes of Creation, the Endgame. We're going to be talking about basically what the Endgame of Ashes of Creation is going to be, and why we don't really have an Endgame right now, and when we can expect to see some of this Endgame. So to really understand what I'm saying, chat, you have to look at the current map we have right now. This is the map. It's just the Riverlands. To start things off, this is Alpha 2, and this already feels huge. Everybody who's played Alpha 2 can tell you the same thing. For example, if you walk from one node to the next, we have Marilith here, we have Winstead here. This is a good 15 plus minute walk. It can take 20 minutes sometimes. Depending on how many things you run into, this is very, very far. The size of the Riverlands is probably the size of New World in its entirety. So it's a big damn map. Now you might think this is big, but if we talk about how big the game is actually going to be, so this Riverlands looks bigger than the current one we have. This is probably the size of Alpha 2 at the moment. You see this little place right here? New World is huge. Yes, New World is huge. And Alpha 2 of Ashes of Creation, that's what we have, and it's about the size of New World. Why is this important, and why is there an endgame here, whereas we cannot find an endgame here? It's because there's a lack of biome diversity. So, to really explain this, I'm gonna have to bring this up in Paint. Once the game is fully out, once we have at least 3+ biomes, and this might happen in Phase 2, because they do say in Phase 2 they will have the Sandqual Desert expanded and the Tropics expanded. If this means that we're actually going to have 3 unique biomes, we might see some actual organic content, which is sort of the end game happening. It's not going to happen in Phase 1, I can guarantee this. Because at the moment in Phase 1, if you look at the map, all resources are the same. Let me pull up the nodes really quickly here. So these are the nodes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No matter which node you're a citizen of, you will find the exact same materials around each one. There is no reason for, let's say, Marilith to trade with New Ayla. Why? Because they both find zinc, they both find copper, they both find all the types of trees. If we pull up, let's say, oh, I need to farm for ash trees. They're everywhere, right? There's no reason to farm for them. Like, there's no reason to transport ash trees from Marilith to New Ayla. Let's say I want to farm for basalt. It's everywhere. Exact same thing, right? So trade is non-existent. And this game requires trade for an organic endgame to actually happen. And let me explain why. Once you take this, which is one biome, and you expand it to what the game is actually going to be here, it works very differently. So we're working with a little bit of a hypothetical here, but I think it's fair to make a few assumptions. Assumption number 1 is every single region, every single biome type will have some unique resources. I think it's crazy to say that's not going to be the case. So let's start off with the Sandqual Desert. Let's assume the Sandqual Desert has a unique resource called sand blocks. And let's say that every node in the world needs at least some amount of sand blocks to make something it wants to make. Let's say sand blocks are required to upgrade your town hall from level 4 to 5. If you're living in the desert, let's say you're on a node, you're in the node right here, right? This is your home. If this is your home, and there's sand blocks to mine everywhere, what is the price of sand blocks going to be, chat? How much do you think sand blocks are going to cost per block if they're available all over the desert? They're going to be dirt cheap. I don't know. Let's just say they cost 1 silver each. Right? Let's say every sand block costs 1 silver. Dirt cheap. Because it's everywhere. Now let's say you live here. This is your node. Right here. And let's say every single node around here, every one of them needs a few thousand sand blocks to advance their mayor hall to level 5. If that is what they require, what is the price of a sand block going to be if the only way to get them is to take a massive trip all the way from here via boat to here? And not just a trip. You got to get over here. You got to launch a caravan, take it to a coast, get on a boat, sail through the seas, through PvP infested waters, get all the way here, take it off a boat, put it in the caravan, and drive it to your node. What is a sand block going to be worth by that time? Because this is the only, you can either get it from this desert or from this desert. Those are your only two options. There is no desert biome anywhere close to you. What is a sand block going to cost in this place? Where nobody, like, you got to realize the trip from here to here takes hours. People are not going to be just casually running here, mining, running back. That's a massive investment in time. And if they're going to make that investment, they're going to want to take a large amount of sand blocks. And the only way to take a large amount is via caravans and boats. It might be the case that sand blocks here cost, let's say, 35 silver each per block. That's not crazy to say. Maybe 20 silver each, I don't know. You might make a 20x in this one travel. Traveling from here to here might be a 20x gain in money. Right? And depending on how much PvP is in the server, let's say this is a very aggressive server and there are some guilds that are non-stop patrolling the oceans. That might go to 40x just because nobody wants to do it. Because the less supply is, the more demand there is. So people have massive incentives to do it, and they have to do it if they want to advance. So there's going to be a lot of trade happening. Now, this is just for sand blocks. Imagine every single biome. Let's say the Dunzel Mountains have, let's say there's some kind of special goats that live in the mountains. Let's say they have goat horn. And you need goat horn to make certain kinds of things. I don't know. There you go. All of a sudden, this node also needs it. Now, this trip might be pretty cheap. Maybe this is going to be a 5x in profit, right? Buying stuff here, selling it here. On the other hand, well, maybe this region wants to buy these, and the only way to get it is from here. So this is going to be caravan all the way to the coast, on a boat, sail all the way here, get on a caravan, transport it to here, right? That might be a 30x in profit. Now, with that said, imagine the following. On a world scale, every node needs everything. So you will have trade like this. From everywhere to everywhere, there will be trade. And if something is not being traded, all of a sudden there's demand for it, and you can find a niche to make massive money and profits on. So there will be caravans looking to run all the time. There will be boats looking to travel all the time because it will be the best money you can make, bar none. Guilds will be organized entirely over trading. Other guilds will be organized entirely over PvPing people who are trading. And the world will be non-stop interacting with itself. This might form some very cool metas in some servers. For example, let's say you run a server where there is a specific node right here on the coast, and that node says, listen, we're going to be a trading node. We're going to buy materials from all over the place, right? And this is going to be the place that you come to if you live in this area to buy your goods. You don't have to travel from all the way over here. We're going to make it very easy for caravans to come here. We might have guilds who protect other boats coming here for fees. You want to travel from here via boat to here? Well, we have a guild who will protect you. You can pay for that protection. And we're going to make this node a trading hub of the world. That might happen in some servers. Other servers, you might have a pirate guild who lives on this island and say, listen, anybody crossing, you have to pay a fee. You don't pay the fee, you will be PvP down. They might have a 100-man group who patrols this area nonstop, right? That might happen in another server. Basically what I'm saying is, when it comes to a really, really large world with a lot of different biome types, every server will be different, and the end game will be very dynamic. And if something is not happening, like for example, let's say nobody is transporting goods from here or here. Like let's say there's a lack of frost goods because it's too dangerous. Nobody wants to do it. Well, all of a sudden there's such a massive supply for snow. I don't know, whatever you find in the frost graves, or maybe for like ice dragon tails. There is such a massive supply in the rest of the world. There's such a lack of that material in the rest of the world. You yourself could literally just put it on your person, fill out your inventory with them, and it might be massive profit just to, I don't know, swim across as a single player, sell everything in this area, and multiply your entire savings by 50. So again, the world will equalize. Another important point is, because every node will have its own advantage in terms of materials or ores or whatever it is that is unique to said region, people will live all over the world. Let's say nobody wants to live here. Let's say nobody wants to live in a node in the Doesn't Kill Mountains. Well, now it is a massive massive advantage for you to live there. Why? Because you'll be one of the only people who is gathering that resource. So you will have people flocking over there because prices for whatever this node has are going to be sky high. Let's say nobody likes the desert. The desert is a boring place to live. So people are all going all over the world, making their nodes, making their guilds. Nobody wants to play here. All of a sudden, after a week, every single biome's crying, oh my God, there's no sand blocks. And people start going like crazy from all over the world to mine sand blocks, right? And by going here, all of these nodes are advancing because they're getting XP from the mining. So it is not only something that causes trading to happen, it is a mechanism that causes people to spread out in the world. You're not going to have the entire player base in one area, because the moment the entire player base plays in one node, or say one biome, every other biome is more profitable to be in. And this will cause a lot of guilds to form all over the world. It's going to cause a lot of organic interaction. And what this game really is about at the end of the day is player-driven content. The devs are not telling you how to play the game. The game will be played according to what is happening on your server. And every server will be in one way or another different. You can go from one server to the next, make a different character, and you'll say, holy crap, why isn't my server doing this? This is so smart, you know? You could watch streamers play on another server and say, oh my God, that is such a cool idea. If I brought this to my server, I'd make a killing. So yeah, it's going to be very fun. But for this to happen, we're missing some key factors. We need a second biome. Like right now, it's impossible. We are on this server at the moment. There are no unique resources in the desert. There is nothing unique in the tropics. There is no trade happening anywhere because you can get anything anywhere. So let me open the nodes really quickly, and I'll reiterate. Like I said before, if you're in any of these nodes, you have no reason to trade with anyone else. Because, again, all resources, oak trees, they're everywhere, right? Lurch is everywhere. Same thing. You want to get some basalt, it's everywhere. So we need that to happen. When will that happen? We don't really know. Possibly phase 2. They say zone expansion. They're going to expand the desert, expand the tropics. Once that happens, once there is an expansion of these areas, maybe it will. It depends what resources are unique to these areas. Right now, they don't have any unique resources that are needed. So maybe phase 2. When will it really get very interesting? Once continents are introduced. Because without continents, mercantile boating is dead. There's no reason really to run ships with mats from one end to the other. So that's a really another big barrier to really making the world feel alive, making the ocean feel alive. So again, it'll take a while to get here, but there is no reason we can't get here. And I think the overall design of the endgame is genius. Because the devs, like, the great part about a sandbox is you don't need the devs to do anything. The game is playable forever if the sandbox is designed well. And by that I mean, do they give the players the right tools and the right rule sets to make a living, breathing world? What's a great example of this? Think about Minecraft. If Minecraft was never even developed past its infancy, like past a certain point where there was enough kinds of blocks, people would still be playing to this day on certain servers. Because there's an infinite amount of things you can do. Build, expand. You were given the tools to make organic content. Same thing is true here. Now, of course, expansions are great. New tools are great. Every time there's a patch and something new added, it modifies the world in one way or another, makes it more living and breathing. But do you get the vision of what I'm saying? So that's the end game of Ashes. That is what I'm most excited for. We don't currently have this. I played the Alpha 2 this weekend, and Alpha 2 right now has the basics of the basics of the basics. It is really lacking in content. There's really not much to do other than grind mobs and level. And that's fine. I'm okay with it. I think right now, Alpha 2 feels really good for what it's doing. Once we get to diversity, those things should organically happen. So I'm not so worried about this not working at the moment because it's not supposed to work at the moment. The one key feature to make the world living, breathing, self-regulating is scarcity. Once scarcity is introduced, somewhere in phase 2 or 3, probably I would say phase 2, we will see a lot more happening in the world. I'm excited for that, and I hope you guys are too.